Hey y'all, how y'all doing? Today we're going to be discussing the November the 4th episode of NXT. But first, please hit the like button and then subscribe if you're not already subscribed. Thank you kindly. So, our first match is Dakota Kai versus Ember Moon. And this match was longer than it should have been, and it had a very weird ending. So this match was oddly about Ember Moon basically returning to NXT. Dakota Kai was there when I guess right at the end of Ember Moon leaving the first time when she left to go to the main roster. And Dakota Kai was real understated. She was basically like a jobber or something like that at the time. And now that she's back, Ember Moon thinks she's gonna go right back to the top. But Dakota Kai's like, no. It's not the same thing. It's not today is not yesterday. This is a different NXT. It's my NXT. And so they have this match where basically Ember Moon is like, you're just a stepping stone. And then Dakota Kai beats her. Raquel Gonzalez helped. Raquel Gonzalez kind of distracted Ember Moon. And then Dakota Kai used her finish off the top rope. It was a pretty solid finish. And this seems to be Ember Moon's feud because you would think somebody like Ember Moon, they would have shot straight to the main event with her, or at least straight to the title. This detour by losing to Dakota Kai tells me that she's going to be doing this thing with Dakota Kai for a little while. Dakota Kai is good. She is a great gatekeeper. I'm not so sure how she would be as the champion, but she's great for the role that she's in now. And that's really what she's doing now. She's basically being a gatekeeper. She's saying, oh yeah, you were the NXT Women's Champion before, but that was then. Now I'm the shit. I'm the top girl. At least you're not just gonna walk in here and take my spot. And this match was good. Now I will say this: Ember Moon's facial expressions are very, very cringy. Like she is cringy as hell with the facial expressions. And I don't know. I don't know if they told her to do that or if that's just kind of how she does things. I think I've said this before. You know, like she's really cringy. She's really cringy, and it's like I don't like it. But I like the idea of this feud though because Dakota Kai can carry it. Dakota Kai is really good. Ember Moon is also quite good, and this match was good. I enjoyed this. It was a good opening match. So Cameron Grimes is really jumpy. He's paranoid. He's got zombie traumatic stress or some shit. We don't need this. Okay, look, Cameron Grimes is annoying enough. When you got him running around like Shaggy from Scooby Doo, I don't need any more of that. Okay, I don't like it. I don't like that. And he had a lengthy match later, which was really weird. It was we'll get to there. We'll get there in a minute. So Shotzi Blackheart says that she was so good at being the host that she was offered to get to pick her own opponent. She picked Toni Storm, and she was gonna because she's always looked up to Toni Storm, and she wanted to test herself against Toni Storm. And then she started howling again, and making faces, and I was kind of like, oh, now she's cringe too. Now see, I said during Halloween Havoc that she was this mixture of sexy and cringe, where it was like pineapple on pizza. Where it was like some sweetness to it, but it was kind of like maybe it shouldn't be there. But now it's back to full cringe, where she's basically howling and talking about mosh pits. I'm like, okay, well, at least it's at least it's consistent. It's 100% cringe now. So Kushida defeated Cameron Grimes, and Cameron Grimes. This was a good match. Kushida. These guys. I felt like these guys have wrestled at least once a month all year. I know they probably haven't had that many matches, but I think they have wrestled each other quite a bit over the course of a year. And they got some pretty good chemistry. They have some good stuff here. This match was not bad, but let's talk about the finish. So the finish is that the referee gets bumps twice. He falls outside the ring. There's a visual submission where Grimes is tapping out in the hoverboard lock. Nothing happens. Then, there's a Spanish fly. Grimes has a visual pinfall on Kushida. A referee comes out, another referee, but it's the referee that was a zombie during the Halloween Havoc show, he was a zombie in the corner. And, again, he runs around like Shaggy from Scooby-Doo. And then all of a sudden, he gets put in the hoverboard lock and he taps out. And I was like, oh, no, I don't like this. I don't like this. You had something good here. Why couldn't Kushida just beat this guy? Like, okay, just have Kushida just win. Just have Kushida win. And then my second situation is, where are either one of these guys going? Kushida seems to have no path of ever going anywhere. They don't do anything with Kushida. He just goes out there either to just loses matches, which is what he was doing earlier this year, or he goes out there and he just wins matches, which is what he's doing now. But he never goes anywhere. He never makes any headway towards a title or any type of mission. Like, he just doesn't go forward. And I don't understand why he's stuck in this position like this. It's got to be because of his English. But this doesn't matter because Io Shirai, who is the women's champion. So Kushida needs to get moved up. He needs to go forward. Get this guy out of this fucking situation. There's no future in this. So following that, we get a Toni Storm package, where basically she says that that Shotzi Blackheart, she respects Shotzi Blackheart, but she's picked the wrong one to try to test herself against. And then, of course, she uses the stepping stone. I'm like, okay, we've got two people using stepping stone storylines. There needs to be an editor to come along and say, we just used that line in this match. We shouldn't be using that line again. And besides, they're both NXT talents. How is this a stepping stone? Like, it doesn't make sense. And then also, it's very strange because Toni Storm is the higher level talent of these two, because Toni Storm was a champion in NXT UK, and I believe she actually won the Mae Young Classic. So she's the more pushed talent of the two. So why would she need a stepping stone? Which is the same question I would ask in the Dakota Kai Ember Moon situation. Usually a stepping stone is somebody of, that you would step on to go over. But it's like if you're already over them, because then they should be trying to step on you. You should be the stepping stone. But I'm overthinking it. I'm clearly overthinking it. So then the next thing was Drake Maverick and Killian Dane versus Everrise. Don't hate Everrise, but I didn't watch this match because I do not care. Look, Everrise really won me over with that one promo they cut, which is pure cocaine 80s. I loved it. I loved that one promo they did. But I had no interest in watching this match. I just didn't have it. Thankfully, I didn't have to watch it because Pat McAfee and the Brand, I'm just going to call them the Brand because I don't know what the hell they're supposed to be called. They can run out there and they beat the hell out of everybody. And they did a decent job here because Killian Dane would not go down. He would not stay down. They beat the shot out of Everrise. Everrise stayed down. They beat the shot out of Drake Maverick. He stayed down. But Killian Dane kept getting back up. Like, he kept fighting. He kept going forward. This is good for a babyface to never say die. You never stay down, never give up. He's fighting. He's a gigantic guy anyway. And both of the guys all the guys who are beating him up are smaller than him, with the exception of McAfee. All of them are fucking midgets. Dunn is a midget. Lorcan is a midget. Birch is a fucking midget. So you got these four guys putting the boots to him. And Dane is bigger than all of them, so he's trying to fight back, trying to fight through it. And I dig it. Like, usually I would be like, let the guys get the heat. Let the guys get the heat and go down and stay down. But in this situation, especially what they paired it with what they did later, when we get to that in a moment. But it was really good. I'm really interested in Killian Dane and Drake Maverick. So then Pat McAfee cuts this fantastic promo, which is basically a eulogy for Undisputed Era. He's going to hang their banner in the Capitol Wrestling Center because Undisputed Era is done. It's over. We beat them. It's over. So then he basically gives the rundown of what took place again about, them beating up the Undisputed Era and Ridge Holland's leg and all that type of stuff. But he made sure to add, for people who didn't remember, that Pete Dunne was the guy that Roderick Strong turned heel on. And when Roderick Strong initially turned and joined the Undisputed Era, he beat up Pete Dunne. So Pete Dunne has a reason for joining this group, which is really Pat McAfee, everything that he's been involved with so far has been good. Even if I don't want him there, it has been good. He continuously called people scumbags, talked about them being immoral, just basically all kinds of stuff. It was really good. And then ultimately at the end, he was like, Undisputed Era doesn't deserve, like he said this is a democracy. Do you want to hang the banner up or do you want to throw it in the trash? And then they voted to throw it in the trash. So then they get the trash can, they put the Undisputed Era banner in the trash can, and then Pete Dunne lights it on fire. And then the smoke is bellowing out of there, as Pat McAfee says, finishes the rest of his lines. And then they storm out. And then I thought it was weird that the camera kept following them as they was walking out. And then, they still talking. Pat McAfee is still talking. And then, out of nowhere, here comes Killian Dane. And Killian Dane just barrels into Pat McAfee, knocks him down. And then they beat his ass again. They beat him down again. And then they put his face, in between the door and, of course, where the door closes on that Jeep or it's a truck or something like that. And then Pete Dunne, who is the hatchet man of the group, apparently, he's the killer. They're really doing a good job of. This has kind of been a consistent thing with Pete Dunne's character. He's sort of been the hatchet man, the brutal one. And he kicks the door closed and smashes Killian Dunne in the face. And I was like, this is excellent. This is fantastic. I love that. That was great. And it was great that he did it by himself. He went in there by himself. It was kind of stupid. But, you can be a stupid baby face like that and try to fight all four heels by yourself. It's brave. It's bravery. It's all very good. The Pat McAfee stuff is very, very good. What's not good, Johnny Gargano. Not good. Now he loves wheels. And he was playing some game with the Ghostface. And I was kind of like, oh my God. He was talking to the Ghostface on the phone. He was dancing. Says he's going to defend the title and get rid of the Gargano curse of winning titles but not being able to defend them. Saying he's going to defend against a worthy opponent, but no worthy opponent was even announced. So it's basically Johnny Gargano versus question marks next week on NXT. It's probably going to be like some bum. Whatever. Johnny Gargano was so bad. Why does he have that? Hopefully they just take the title off of him. Like, that maybe it was just going to be a transition from Damian Priest to somebody else. Hopefully it may be hopefully it may be Kushida. Hopefully it is Kushida or somebody like that. That would be awesome. It's so awesome that they likely wouldn't do it. So the next segment was actually Toni Storm versus Shotzi Blackheart. And this match was good. It was a good match. But I'm glad I wasn't the only one to notice this, because I actually got some text messages and stuff, and people were like, Toni Storm looks very different. And they were scared to say why. And I was like, because she gained weight. That's why. Hold on now. Now, I will say this. They really testing this No Nut November, putting Ember Moon and Toni Storm on the show at the same time. Now, one of them, okay. But you gonna put both of them on the show? You really testing the No Nut November for all the incels and the virgins and stuff. Even me, I was tempted, but I'm a man of virtue, so I didn't need to do all that. But Toni Storm has gained some weight. She's a little bigger than she used to be. It hasn't really affected her work, really, but she looked like she gained probably about 20, 25 pounds. And you could tell when she's bending over and stuff like that, she's not in the best shape. But again, she's not fat, but she has gained weight. It's just crazy. It's kind of like with Deonna Purrazzo, when people were like, why aren't they pushing Deonna Purrazzo? And I was like, because she's fat. And people were like, she's not fat. And I was like, well, her tights don't fit. But she's gotten herself tightened up since she went to Impact. She's tightened up. So, she's it's always been a thing with women. You can't say anything about their bodies. You can talk about a man being fat all day. You say anything about a woman gaining some weight, all of a sudden it's a problem. But Toni Storm is still hot. She's still, her thighs are super thick. Super thick. And that's why I don't mind. Because Toni Storm didn't lose anything. She used to She used to be a lot thicker on a smaller frame, but she's now thick on a thick frame, So it's not bad. It's not bad. It's plus she's, that shouldn't be a problem for her to lose that. She could lose that in a couple of weeks. Just saying. But there was a big yikes moment in this match between Toni Storm and Shotzi. But for starters, we got to start up from the beginning. Shotzi Blackheart storms to the ring, no tank. She doesn't have her tank, and she's angry about no tank, and she's blaming that no tank on Toni Storm. So I'm like, what are you talking about, mate? And they get into a shoving match, and they have this match, of course. Then there was a tornado DDT on the ring apron. See, Shotzi Blackheart's offense is just stupid. Like, she is, like, we hear that, Darby Allin is supposed to be the daredevil. Like, he's supposed to be the reckless one. He ain't got shit on Shotzi Blackheart. Shotzi Blackheart is out there to die every time. She is out there to kill herself. Okay, she did a tornado DDT on the ring apron and almost killed her and fucking Toni Storm. Like, Shotzi Blackheart is insane. And that's kind of charming. It's stupid as fuck. You're not a long-term investment when you do stuff like that. But there is some charm in you being absolutely dumb. Like, it's kind of like Jeff Hardy. Like, Jeff Hardy did shit that was so stupid, but it was still kind of charming because he was giving his all. And that's kind of what we're getting with Shotzi Blackheart, where, she's going out there, she's giving it her all, even if it doesn't make sense. She's going out there to do it. And somebody need to put the reins on her. She needs to stop it. But I hated the finish to this match because it was another distraction finish, which was the, third distraction finish of the night? Yeah, it was 4 matches on this show, 3 distraction finishes. One was thrown out because of interference. So Candice LeRae stole Shotzi Blackheart's tank. This was on the screen. Shotzi saw this, was like, oh no. And then she got rolled up, 1, 2, 3, got pinned. She didn't care about getting pinned. Toni Storm just kind of like, oh well, I won. And then Candice LeRae ran over Shotzi Blackheart's tank with her truck. And I was like, And Shotzi Blackheart is just like bawling, like, Wah! And she's just really just melting down over this tank. And she's so hurt. You think that it was like she got, like, our pet got ran over or something like that. Like, I look, I like it because, people do have connections with things. They have parasocial relationships with items, metaphysical relationships with items for various reasons. When Shotzi Blackheart recently, in real life, her bag got stolen or something like that. Her car got stolen or something. And she lost her helmet, with the horns on it. And she talked on Twitter about how much this helmet meant to her. And that, she said Triple H immediately went out and got her another helmet. But it wasn't necessary because that her helmet and all that her stuff was returned. But that, she's like, it can't be replaced because it was something that she had gotten from training and all that type of stuff. So you can add emotional content to inanimate objects. So obviously you can. Like people used to say how stupid the Bret Hart Jean-Pierre Lafitte storyline was, where Jean-Pierre Lafitte stole Bret Hart's jacket. And it's like, they're so stupid. They're fighting over a jacket. It's like, well, if you put the right amount of heat on the jacket, as far as there's a reason why the jacket exists. Look, people don't need to understand, man. There's an entire film franchise built around a motherfucking ring, okay? And I ain't never seen none of that shit. I ain't never watched Lord of the Rings. I ain't never read none of the books. I tried reading one of the Lord of the Rings, but the shit was so fucking boring. I wanted to, throw the fucking shit in the garbage. I ended up giving it away. But you can add value to things. People value things. They value things for different reasons. Now the tank, as far as we know, is just fun for Shotzi Blackheart. It's just like a fun thing, but for her. Now maybe later, which I probably would have liked being told before, like, tell me how important this person is to you before I shoot them. Don't just shoot somebody and then I'm like, oh, I'm supposed to care about this corpse. And then later on you tell me like, oh yeah, this corpse was somebody that was super duper special. Because that's what they did in The Watchmen. If you ever seen the movie The Watchmen or read the comic book, you learn about the comedian. You see him get thrown through the window and die. You see all that before you know who he is. And then you learn who he is and how he's a fucking scumbag and you shouldn't be upset about him being dead anyway. You learn that as you go along. But, and there is a narrative use for something like that where you would kill somebody and then figure out who they were later. Or you break this thing and then figure out why it was important later. I get that, but I like you building up to things, like me finding out that, like, right now we just kind of know that Shotzi Blackheart likes her tank and it's fun and she likes to run over like Robert Stone with it and all that type of stuff. But now the tables are turned and her tank has been run over and it really affects her on a personal level that her tank has been destroyed. And okay, and then Toni Storm was there to comfort her, which I thought was really strange. Not because, well, Toni Storm is a babyface, so it would make sense. You had this babyface versus babyface match. It makes sense, but I found it odd that Toni Storm was still out there. Like, you would think, like, okay, I won. I'm going to go mind my own business and go celebrate my win. But her still being out there was weird. And then also, I remembered as I was sitting here watching this, that Toni Storm was talking about when she was talking about Shotzi Blackheart being a stepping stone, she was talking about this being a new Toni Storm, a more aggressive Toni Storm. And I was saying to myself, she's going to turn heel. And I think she is probably going to end up being the Ghostface. Now, the Ghostface was in the car with Candice LeRae. And the Ghostface was playing with Johnny Gargano. Doesn't mean that those two things were happening live, right? So the Candice LeRae destruction thing could have been taped prior to the match or whatever. And, stuff like that. You could always do that. And the Ghostface is the Scream thing. I still think that they're going to, it's one of them is Indy Hartwell and another one is going to be a Johnny Gargano mentee or protege. But I do think that, there's just an idea that popped into my head that maybe Toni Storm could be one of these ghost faces. Or that she's just playing on a turn heel, because that's where she was leaning towards earlier this year anyway. For people who don't remember, Toni Storm was obsessed with winning the NXT UK Championship from Kaylee Ray. She didn't get to do it. Then she wanted to win the title from Rhea Ripley. She couldn't do that either. She was getting frustrated. And then she lost an I Quit match to Kaylee Ray. Yeah, Kaylee Ray in NXT UK earlier this year before the shutdowns. And a babyface lost an I Quit match. And that seems to be it. Like, she couldn't no longer challenge for the NXT UK title, so she was coming to NXT. So that's when she first started. And she was leaning towards being heelish then. And then they kind of backed off of that, obviously, for her return. But it seems like they're going to go back to it. So I think she's probably going to end up turning at some point during this whole ordeal, which is cool. More Toni Storm, even though she's gained weight. So Santos Escobar basically was bragging about beating Jake Atlas. People were talking about, well, you had some help. And he's like, nope, I beat him all by myself. So then Jake Atlas rolled up in his car. There's a lot of stuff going on in the NXT parking lot. Like, there's a lot of NXT parking lot stuff. Like, the NXT parking lot is something else. So Jake Atlas rolled up and he got out of his car and Raul Mendoza went over there to see what's up. I think he hit him in the throat or something. And then he hopped back in his car and drove off. I was like, okay, so Jake Atlas is going to get his second feud. He was in the Cruiserweight tournament. He didn't get to talk much. He didn't get to do much. He got to feud with Tommaso Ciampa. He got to cut a promo. Got to show a little bit of what he can do there. And now he's going to be feuding with the Cruiserweight champion, Santos Escobar. That's going to be fun, too. I love Santos Escobar. I liked him even before he came to the WWE. Jake Atlas, I'm learning about him. I don't like that cartwheel DDT. I'm not a fan of that. But just about, he also needs some work on his facial expressions and stuff like that. But he's going somewhere. But so I'm 100% cool with that. And then my favorite part of NXT happens. Thatch can. I love this stuff. Timothy Thatcher is teaching escapes this time. He's teaching us graps. So he's talking about the cutting bone and the wrist and how you put it across the throat. That's illegal. He's trying to show you how to properly put on a guillotine. then show you how to get out of the guillotine. It's this really, really dark recruit, really black dude. I missed his name, didn't write it down, don't care. And then, of course, he puts the guy in the guillotine, sort of the front face lock part of the guillotine, not the full guillotine. And basically the guy's just tapping out, but Thatcher doesn't care. He doesn't care. He's still talking. And then the guy's holding his throat like, come on, man, like lighten up. And Thatcher's like, okay, don't worry about it. And then he said he's gonna he's gonna show us the escape. How when you get put into a front face lock, you go for side control. And then you use your forearm to go across the face, cross face, and then you reverse it into something else. And then he got the guy in the hold. Guy's tapping out, begging to get out of this hold, and that's just continuing to talk. He's just wrenching, just torturing this guy, just tearing him apart. And then the guy gets up and is like, "This is supposed to be an exhibition. What are you doing?" And Thatcher's like, what is? You want me to get somebody else? You need some water? like settle down, brother. Settle down. And so I love this. Like, this is really great. And then, he's like, oh, the guy's now, and so now he gives his head to the recruit. The recruit's gonna show how to get out of the submission. And so the recruit puts he puts the recruit in the guillotine. Then the recruit walks through the reversal with the forearm across the face, and then he says, "You got to be ready for anything." As he's talking, like you got to be ready for anything. And then he snatches the guy. He pops the guy off of him, snatching him and put him in like an Achilles lock. And the guy's just tapping out and screaming and hollering. And Thatcher's like, "You got to be ready for anything. Anything can happen in wrestling. You got to be ready for anything." And then out of nowhere, Anthony Green, who I thought was Anthony Green, they changed his name. He came out of nowhere and started beating up Timothy Thatcher, hit him, knock him outside the ring. So that was great. That was fantastic. I love Thatcher's Thatch Can. This is amazing. I might actually buy my first wrestling t-shirt because I want one of them shirts. If you want to buy me a shirt, thank you. That would be pretty cool. But so they changed Anthony Green's name to August Gray. I thought it was Austin Gray, and I was really about to get mad. I'm like, there's already an Austin Theory. There's a Stone Cold Steve Austin. Do we need another Austin? But his name is August, like the month, Gray. Don't know why his name needed to be changed in the first place. What was wrong with Anthony Green? I have seen Anthony Green in Evolve. I also watched him on 205 Live. Him and Kurt Stallion were doing pretty good when I saw him on 205 Live. Kurt Stallion is really good. He's going to be pretty much cowboy. So that's going to be, it makes sense. His name is Stallion. It makes sense for him to be a cowboy. But August Gray and Timothy Thatcher ought to be fun. That ought to be really fun. I like that. I like how they're building it up too. So Xia Li, they talked about Xia Li getting these letters from Boa, and she said these are letters from her family, and that she, they're personal. It's none of our business. You don't want to go into it. She gets another letter from William Regal, and in this letter, she's saying like, okay, I need to fight Raquel Gonzalez next week. And William Regal looks at her like, are you sure about this, sweetheart? And she's like, yes. Raquel dishonored me. And he was like, okay. So I guess that's what the storyline we're going here with, is that Xia Li is dishonoring her family by constantly losing. And she has to regain her honor by defeating opponents that beat her or beat her up. I'm like, okay, that makes sense. It's kind of cliche for an Asian to care so much about their honor, especially but I don't know anything about China and Japan. I know that honor is still a major thing in those societies. I just kind of feel like it was a little cliche, but it gives her and Boa something to do. So I'm not gonna complain. She's been there a long time. And I found out recently that she was actually supposed to do a kickboxing thing. I think I talked about that. And then apparently she didn't tell Triple H about it or something like that, and it ended up getting canceled. And there was the dirt sheets claimed that she was pretty mad about it, even though she didn't know that. Apparently she didn't know protocol for doing outside stuff and stuff like that, because kickboxing can be pretty dangerous. Even though it's amateur kickboxing, she could get hurt, or they don't know the protocols as far as, COVID and all that shit. But basically, she got pulled, and apparently she was not happy about it. But, who knows? Who knows how much of that is true, how much of it isn't. All we know is that the fight was set, and then it wasn't. So that's kind of how it works. First it was a fight on, then it was a fight off. But it could have been fun. Could have been fun. So Rhea Ripley, she did a promo and basically challenged Io Shirai. And I was like, finally. So then Rhea Ripley says that she's going to end 2020 how she ended 2019 as the NXT Women's Champion. And I said, finally. Now, I did think that when I saw Ember Moon lose to Dakota Kai, remember I said I talk about the pecking order a lot, right? You have champions, have lists of contenders. They introduced Ember Moon and Toni Storm at the same time. So what you did is you essentially, both of them are being pushed as top stars. Ember Moon being pushed as a bigger star than Toni Storm. You would think that they would have them wrestle each other to set the pecking order. What they did instead was had them interject with two other women, being Dakota Kai and Shotzi Blackheart. Shotzi almost always loses these situations anyway. When it comes to quote-unquote the pecking order, Shotzi Blackheart almost always on the bottom or near the bottom. But, Dakota Kai really should have been, it's not that high. But when I saw that Ember Moon lost to Dakota Kai, I figured, okay, they're going to pair off and do their own thing. And then I saw, okay, Shotzi Blackheart is going to lose to Toni Storm. And they're going to go with Toni Storm as Io Shirai's opponent. But they didn't. So that means they're going to do something with Toni, because the next opponent is Rhea Ripley. So that's fine. That's real good. Now, in doing all this, there is no contender for the men's championship because we have no fucking idea what's going on with Finn Balor. And his name was not even mentioned. As far as, I don't think the name Finn Balor has been mentioned in 2 weeks. Since the surgery, I don't think Finn Balor's name has been mentioned. They haven't stripped him. They haven't said that they're going to. I remember they said that they were not sure. He got this bionic jaw now because I think he's got metal in his face. But, I'm on the fence about what we're going to do here about Finn Balor and this NXT title. But the women's title is holding it down. They're really pushing the women hard on NXT anyway. So the main event was actually a worthy main event. It was the Velveteen Dream versus Tommaso Ciampa. And this match was good. Velveteen Dream is really good. And Tommaso Ciampa is one of the best. So this match was badass. And I like that they're continuing to tell this story with Velveteen Dream and his cast. Because they kept playing into it, kept working on it. Him, throwing punches with it and all that type of stuff. And Velveteen Dream's selling has gone through the roof. Like, since, what was that? That match with, I think it's Kushida. His selling has gone from like a 7.5 to like a 12 out of 10. He sells so good now. Like, he's real. Like, I don't know, like somebody, and it's not just the verbal wailing. It is also how he take bumps. Like, if you go back and watch how he's taking those bumps when Tommaso Ciampa threw like 3 or 4 straight clotheslines, he sold those bumps exactly how Kurt Hennig sold the Ultimate Warrior's clotheslines. It's almost as if they watched it and then decided to just redo it. I literally just watched them do it. Like, I did a match commentary that features Kurt Hennig and the Ultimate Warrior. I literally just watched this and then they went and did it. So that means they probably watched that shit too. But it was pretty cool. It was a good, enjoyable match. And Tommaso Ciampa won clean. So I'm 100% involved. NXT was good. Outside of some of the cringy Gargano stuff and, some of the cringiness of Shotzi Blackheart and Ember Moon and the terribleness of Everrise and, Drake Maverick, other than Cameron Grimes, who's also cringy. Most of the show was good. The work was really good in the show. Some of the finishes need work because they were trying to protect everybody, trying to protect Ember Moon so they didn't give Dakota Kai a clean win. Tony, trying to protect Shotzi so Tony Storm didn't get a clean win. Trying to protect Cameron Grimes so Kushida didn't get a clean win. All the distraction roll-ups and the distraction submissions, that's too much. NXT has a problem where they just kind of fall into a trap where they just sort of like, we got one idea, let's just do it multiple times. Like Masked Superstar, let's do it multiple times. Distraction roll-ups, let's just do it multiple times. We don't need that. We don't need that. We don't need that. Okay, we don't need it. But it was a good show. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Like this video, share this video, donate to the channel, please. Thank you kindly. And I'll talk to you guys later.